Going down the water slide, of course, we have free Marsy in the top with the red border here. Also enjoying a slippery water slide is Team MPE at the bottom with the blue border.
So the first thing to see, of course, Jack, as we just discussed, is the very first pull here. We do have teaming, so there's going to be, we'll see just how big they go. Free Marsy's running right through this. We'll see if they have a little pause or not. With teaming, though, we are going to have two of those Hulks in the back. Those are very, very dangerous mobs. They do have a punt forward on the tank, and then a frontal cone. It looks like they're pulling everything here, so they're going to have to control them really well after those fracture punts right here, right now. Seeing if those... Okay, good. So excellent. They do need to interrupt those. It's a ton of damage on the tank, even if it's just on the tank, making sure it doesn't clip some of the melee too.
Huge damage coming out of both sides here, and like I said, this is what we're talking about. We want to see these huge pulls because this is something that we have to do, and this is something we've constantly been seeing out of some of the best teams, regardless of the region, that regardless of the affix, regardless of what's going on, they were making these really big pulls and they were making it work. So it's very good to see both teams, starting off with this and really taking no prisoners. Yeah, pretty neck and neck are both teams at the moment. Of course, there is a lurker worm that has spawned because those do burrow and pop up in a random location at a player. So by being out of position, one of the range there on free Marsy has spawned the worm in the back. They do have to backtrack there and kill. They don't have the DK for that grip. In the meantime, Team MP here, we can see some of the Arms Warriors break down there with the gear and the talents as Team MP is cleaning up some of this last trash, getting ready to move down to Rockmora. Yeah, no surprise to see the Warglaives coming out for the Warrior there. I mean, we've seen it out of some healers too. This is such a flexible, useful trinket that whenever you're having these huge mob pulls, taking advantage of the Warglaives is just really, really going to be super effective here. For sure. So we do see that Team MP has, of course, started the RP prior to engaging Rockmora. Rockmora himself, of course, does have a couple abilities. The main one we do need to watch out for are these skitters that he spawns based on damage taken. The more that are active during his AoE smash, the more damage it will do, Jack. You know how much damage that could do to the group. It's very, very scary, and you're seeing a very good job by the tank getting all these skitters right into his face, making sure there's very good room for cleave. The Warrior and the Demon Hunter are able to lay into it super, super hard here. So when you're seeing this huge smash that's going to come out for Team MPE here, people dropping so low because they had those skitters out, and people almost dying there. It was very, very scary. But you're also seeing, the Rested Druid for Team MPE doing a lot of damage, so they weren't really having any kind of pre-hots or anything like that that was really going to be bringing them back there. You're almost guaranteed to always have one skitter that spawns last moment before he does his AoE, so you have to bank on the fact that there's always going to be one, but having two could prove to be lethal for some groups. Here's another shatter coming up. They do have 3 of those out right now. Warrior so almost going down right now. They have to get those down a bit better while rotating the boss around the room, making sure they're avoiding those poison puddles on the ground to make sure that the melee DPS have access not only to the boss, who has a massive hitbox, but also the skitters that will innately be drawn to the tank. Yeah, and you're seeing it taking forever for them to get those skitters down. They have 3 skitters active right now. One is about to drop off, but still having 2 skitters up right now. They're very, very high health. Actually, they did get one down just in time. Right before it. So, but having that extra one up, just would have just destroyed them here. So it's pretty sloppy so far, and you're not really seeing as much cleave as you really would have hoped. Yep, Team MP, free Marsy rather, of course, not behind. We do have Zerace go down and get Zeraced from the screen right now. Rezzed immediately up. One of their battle reses does go down as a result, plus an extra 5 seconds on the clock. Both teams almost neck and neck. Rockmora about 8-9% behind for free Marsy, plus that death on top of it. We're going to have an almost probably a wipe here for Team MP. It looks like one of those shatters was just too much to handle. I don't know if they want to keep going with just a tank and a healer combo. Eventually those skitters will mount up to allowing them to wipe. I think it's more effective. Okay, they do get a res up. I don't know, at this point it might be more effective to just go again. They do get the second res up right before the shatter, and the Hunter goes down again. They had the battle res there on their Hunter, and then they had the other DPS just sitting on the battle res and not using it yet. So now the Warrior's going up. So it looks like there was some kind of miscommunication where the Hunter's like, oh yeah, I'll get up immediately, and he didn't even have a personal that ready to handle that. Yeah, that was definitely poorly communicated. The Warrior standing in some of the poison there, going down quite low. Luckily, it does not go down again for Team Epic. But yeah, Jack, that was just poorly communicated. I mean, you know how much damage they did. You know they got one shot a few times already, and the Hunter comes up without his own personal. He doesn't have turtle. I don't know if he called for a cooldown, but he just goes down. I mean, you can't sit at 60% on one of those smashes and expect to live. Yeah, but now you're having a disaster situation by MPE. They're actually having the tank going down. This will be a full wipe on Team MPE's part, and that's just something that you can't have. I mean, it already was going to be a bad situation if you're going to try to tough it out with just a tank and a healer and taking forever to down a boss, but now they have to get back there. They have to start all over again. Right, you are. Today we spell wipe MPE as they come down. They will have to run all the way back to Rockmora.
not only, you know, everything you just said, Jack, plus they wasted 2 battle reses trying to salvage the situation that didn't work out at all. Free Marsy having a massive lead now going down the waterfall. They will have this huge open area here to deal with. Of course, a lot of groups we do see either do a mass pull here or they opt to skip a lot of the starter pack area, but therefore will have to make some percentage later on.
It's kind of disturbing to see, you know, Team MPE's wipe, because the whole focal point, the whole issue with their wipe to begin with was just the fact that they were not cleaving as well as they could have. They were not getting those skitters down very rapidly. They were not switching targets well. They were trying to worry too much about, you know, their little individual cleave and things like that. So it was very disappointing to see there. And you're seeing another death on the part of Team MPE.
I think he might have hit a rock on the way down. I mean, with Rockmore, this boss, they are certainly between a rock and a hard place. Free Marsy now pulling up to what is the right before the dreaded Pelter pack. We do know on teaming that there are 4 Pelters rather than the 2. We'll see if they opt to skip this pack in just a moment.
I think Team MPE, the DK killed their Demon Hunter because they had Path of Frost on, and he landed on the
That's something I do on live server.
Yeah. So it's very, very rough communication. Of course, you know, Free Marsy is having a very, very huge lead here as they're getting more of these larger mobs down. They're moving towards the teaming Pelters, the very scary and annoying mobs. But we've constantly seen, I mean, Free Marsy especially, how cleanly they've actually been able to deal with this. Having their Guardian Druid able to run in, get a focus on all the mobs, and then start kiting them out as they start jumping out. But you're seeing here the Ursula's Vortex getting all of the Pelters back in when they need to, getting them super, super low. So it's very well played.
Yep, they just pop a bunch of CDs there, make sure they kill that horrible pack. Now we will, of course, have 2 more Hulks to deal with, 1 here and then 1 just up the ramp prior to the second boss, Ularog. Once again, Jack, we discussed these Hulks are very, very dangerous, but so are the Shapers that are now with them. One of the new trash monsters that we did not see prior to the first boss. They do constantly cast stone bolts on various targets on the party, so it is important to have good communication and a stun or interrupt rotation on the Shaper to make sure that we don't have too much damage spilling out. In the meantime, Team MP, of course, in the bottom right, is still working on Rockmora. They're just halfway through, but I mean, things are looking pretty rocky for them right now.
Indeed they are. I mean, you've seen Free Marsy did a very, very excellent job of focusing down. Oh, Team MPE is dropping very, very low here, but Free Marsy was doing a very good job of making sure they were getting those Shapers down. So right here is just making sure that Team MPE is able to get the focus and being able to take down the Pelters that they need to, because I mean, we're about to have another, just the AoE burst there, and so we have a little bit of time to be getting these 2 Pelter mobs down very quickly before, of course, the next smash is going to be coming out here. So it's very, very imperative for them to get that much damage on. And again, 3 going down here for MPE, and it's going to be looking like it's going to be another wipe going out on their part.
I mean, they certainly don't have the battle reses. We know that for sure. They've already used 2 of them. I think they have 1 more in the
for the BM Hunter.
Yeah, okay, the tank does go down. Another full wipe for Team MPE. They're really going to have to kind of get themselves together and do a proper pull on the boss and down him. At this point, they're just got to be hoping that Team Marsy is going to be wiping. But I mean, we know that these players are probably previewing on the second monitor or what have you at home, making sure, keeping an eye on the other team. Free Marsy knows how ahead they are at this point, so they can opt to take it even a bit safer and probably win this match and not have to risk any wipe whatsoever.
And that's the thing with Free Marsy, that they have this, you know, kind of clarity. They're saying, okay, well, let's just play our game. Let's play efficiently. We're not worried about, you know, having this maximizing their time. You know, you're not playing, you know, one of the absolute top dogs here. I mean, you're having a team that just is wiped up against you. And this is something where you really just can play conservatively. You can play safe. And I mean, at MPE's part, we just want to make sure that they're not using Path of Frost to kill their members again.
Well, I mean, maybe they want to, but you know, you really got to wonder. I mean, this is Team MPE's map pick. They certainly must know what happens with that boss and how much damage is amplified on a 17 Tyrannical by those skitters, and they're just doing... It's not like you don't have the damage with a Warrior, with a Havoc Demon, with anyone there to kill those skitters. They're just being lazy about it.
Yeah, but and it was even the thing where we have the time to practice. Like, you know, the maps are known, the setups known, the affixes are known. These things, it comes down to practice, making sure you're coordinating with your group. And we kind of saw there with MPE where their Warrior was starting to focus on the skitters, and then it didn't really look like the Havoc or the Hunter really were helping out too much with it. So, you know, that was one thing, just the miscommunication that's going on and the lack of focus that really is coming in on their part. It's really hurting them.
And you can tell, you know, typically in a lot of the Neltharion's Lair in prior series, prior weeks, we did see that this room was usually a huge pull by a lot of teams. You know, get everyone in, Guardian, huge damage, and you just saw they took it 1 pack at a time right now for Free Marsy. They must be in a very comfortable position right now, and they're pulling it safe and playing it safe. Of course, we have now started on Ularog. His breath gets hit really hard with the Sunder there. Ularog, the second boss, which does have a big nature tank damage spike, and of course has this hand ability, is a very, very handsy boss. You want to make sure you move out of the way with that, otherwise it will do a ton of damage, and at 100 energy, he will go downstairs for everyone's favorite ball under the cup game.
My favorite totem.
I hate it.
Favorite totem. So he will spawn a number of different totems around him, and then of course he will have the center totem. What you're going to be looking for here is tracking that center totem, because that is where he's going to be hiding behind here. And of course you're having another death going out on the part of Team MPE, so it just still is kind of compounding upon itself as Free Marsy is going after these totems.
I mean, the Hunter, that has to be the most convincing case of feigned death I've ever seen in my entire playing career of World of Warcraft. He's just, the boss is fooled, I'm fooled, he's just lying on the floor eating some dirt. In the meantime, Free Marsy, of course, does guess the right idol, DPS it down. I do like how the tank is moving here, of course. Wrath is doing an excellent job of rotating the boss by 90 degrees once he does spawn those idols in the first phase to make sure that everything's nice and stacked for cleaving.
Yep, and you're seeing again, Team MPE, I mean, if they didn't have DPS problems before with getting the skitterers down in time, I mean, they're definitely having it now. They're having another death happening on the warrior's part, and you're even seeing the rest of Druid just trying to go into bear form, pop any kind of personals, keep himself alive, and again, it just looks like it's going to be another wipe, and it definitely is just kind of shocking to see that this is their pick. This is something that they've had time to practice on for the tournament realms, and they're just failing at it.
The big problem is they're not only were they mishandling the skitterers with all of their DPS alive, now they're missing 2 of them. They're just going to fall completely behind on skitterers, and eventually they will just get one shot. I mean, that Havoc Demon Hunter can only survive so long. Free Marsy, of course, going over to their second phase of ball under the cup here, or ball under the idol, I suppose, in this case. But based on their damage, I think they're actually going to get a third, quite sure, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it may just be that they're waiting for cooldowns to come up or something along those lines. I mean, again, they're chasing after the idol here, but you might be right, where they might actually be losing out on, they might end up having to go to a different, to a third phase here. But even if they do, it's not even something that's that big of a deal. I mean, hopefully it'll be sort of a wake-up call to make sure that they're, not being lazy, not being, not getting complacent here, because, it's not over until you've crossed that finish line there. So it's very important to kind of lay on that extra damage when you can, get that kind of cleave damage here. It does look like overall the DPS is fairly low, so it might just be something where cooldowns are coming back up, or as the boss is, of course, getting more and more towards execute range, they'll pick it up. It
is possible that some of the members of Free Marsy have now gone to their refrigerator to get a snack. Of course, we do see the healer going down for Team MP at the moment as well. The Blood DK can stay alive through all of this. I mean, their self-healing is incredible, but to have to solo DPS the boss at 30% health on a 7 Tyrannical will take a phenomenal amount of time. Certainly more efficient for them to just wipe, come back and pull the boss again, unless this Havoc can manage to stay alive the whole time, which so far they're doing at the moment. They do have a bit of support from the consumption from the Blood DK there. Free Marsy, of course, trying to clean up Ularog here prior to having another down phase. Unfortunately, they do not manage to do that. He does go down at 10% as we predicted for the final guessing phase here.
Yeah, but it looks like, getting that extra snack and stuff like that, getting that extra drink, definitely hurt them. So, I mean, it's something that kind of check themselves as, they're looking to go forward, hopefully going forward here, making sure that they're going to be picking that up, because when they're going against these higher tier teams, they're not going to be able to get away with having that low damage.
No, not at all. Free Marsy, I would assume, guesses the right idol. Of course, I knew it was that one all along. Just wanted to make sure everyone else at home was guessing. I didn't want to give you a hint. Ularog should be going down here momentarily for Free Marsy, after which they will, of course, be moving to that 5-pack after the second boss. That is usually a 3-pack. It looks like the Havoc Demon Hunter has finally gone down for Team MPE. The Blood DK standing tall, standing his ground. Not sure at this point exactly what their communication is. It's probably very violent and angry, but I would assume the DK at this point is perhaps just going to try to solo the boss. Something DK should easily be able to handle. Is just going to take a ton of time.
Yeah, and time is something that they don't have right now. I mean, even though they're able to take advantage of, just AoE-based trinkets, it looks like they might be having the shock baton that they're taking advantage of here. It definitely is just, this is something that is still kind of baffling to me, where they're, wiping on the boss that they picked, the very first boss that they picked, whereas Free Marsy's having these large pulls, they're having these efficient pulls, and they're able to show that, they're able to get these mobs down when they want to.
I have just received word that there are police waiting outside for Rockmora due to this murder on the screen that you're seeing right now, but Team MP still trying their best to deal with that. Meanwhile, Free Marsy moving over to start the trash, moving over to Narax's the third boss, which is our favorite Worm boss, of course.
Oh, the favorite worms indeed. I mean, this malicious manhandling by Rockmora on Team MPE is just too much to handle here. So moving to Free Marsy here, of course, they're getting a lot of the grub masters down. It'd be important to watch out for those very, very scary grubs before they metamorphosize.
Yeah, definitely. You do have to hard CC them by either a disorient or a stun. A displacement like a grip does not work, nor can you, kick them or silence them. That doesn't work. Otherwise, they will transform into an extra worm that are quite irritating to deal with, gripping melee all over the place, gripping all players all over the place, and of course, dropping the the pool under it. They will pull the rest of the room here. Should be pretty easy to deal with. I mean, they have a substantial amount of AoE damage. The Guardian, of course, going pretty big there, helping down DPS down all of those mobs, and they will be pulling Neuraxis.
It was a very swole pull there by Free Marsy there, and they have a couple grubs, and you're seeing them there trying to add a little bit of extra damage. They're not really worrying about them too much until they start their cast. They're getting all those down in short order. It's a good thing that Team MPE had not actually had this issue on Neuraxis, because if you look at the crowd surrounding Neuraxis, just all the other spectators going on, I mean, it's glad that they don't really have much of an audience there.
Yeah, so I have just returned from going to the bathroom for about 20 minutes. We do see that Team MPE Blood DK is still working on Arkmora. Should be able to get that down. As we said earlier, it will take a while for him to solo this. However, he has reached a cap on damage from these explosions. He'll never have more than 3 or 4 of these skitterers at a time. As long as he survives every hit here, there are 4 up this time. As long as he survives every hit here, which he easily should be able to do, it should be no problem. We do see that he is, of course, also using Archimon's Trinket, allowing him that absorb every 75 seconds. But this is just going to take a while at this point. In the meantime, Free Marsy is already working on Neuraxis in the bottom. Notable mechanics here, of course, are those spectators that you spoke of, Jack. They do jump down in pairs, and if they reach the boss and eventually are not killed, and they are eaten by the boss, after which Neuraxis will gain... Oh, we do have a death going down from arrow. They should have a battle rest. There it is, no problem. The boss will gain a 50% damage increase for the rest of the fight if they fail to kill those mobs. Also, if the tank fails to run away properly for the Spike Tongue, which we should be seeing coming up soon at 100 energy.
Yep, and you're seeing right here, I mean, Free Marsy's doing a very good job of making sure to keep me already topped. You're talking about the Spike Tongue is coming out, so Brath does use his Druid Roar so that he's able to jump into this pool. The pool will slow, of course, his movement speed down so that he's not going to be getting dragged into it. Team MPE, or should I say Team Blood DK, is finally getting Arkmora down. Finally taking him down solo. Blood DK, exceptional job.
I'm pretty sure at this point he's going to be taking all of the prize money for himself and not sharing it with any of his teammates. Finally, Arkmora does go down. They will be able to start their very fun barrel ride down the river. I'm sure they'll have much to discuss while next to each other in said barrels. But of course, all eyes on Free Marsy at the moment, substantially ahead. There's virtually no way they can lose this dungeon at this point, especially because they have the luxury of playing it safe now.
Yeah, definitely the luxury of playing it safe, and that's one of the focuses that they want to have here. Just keep grinding the boss down, keep focusing on the ads, keep focusing on their fundamentals here, because that was the biggest thing that wiped Team MPE is they just got away from their fundamentals. You know, the fundamental mechanics of the boss. It's not even any crazy positioning. It's not even any crazy abilities or things that you have to watch out for. It's just AoEing specific mobs down, focus targeting things. These are all things that need to be practiced anyway for getting specific trash packs down. It's just something that they utterly failed on for the first boss.
Right, you are, Jack. So, of course, the Toxic Wretch coming out from Neuraxis now, a constant AoE that dots the entire group and puts puddles down, making it very tough for melee to find a spot open to DPS at because the boss is indeed immobile. The healer will have to pay attention to that. In the meantime, we're almost at 20% on Neuraxis, meaning that she will, or he will, gain an extra 20% permanent damage as a soft enrage for the rest of the encounter until it's killed off. You can see these Devouts coming down, being cleaved well, and DPS before they split up, so they get a ton of damage on them, and we should have another Spike Tongue coming up not too long from now.
Team MPE going quickly through all those Pelter packs. I guess they had a lot of cooldowns available to them since they were sitting on them for a couple minutes.
Yes, all their hour-long cooldowns did come up. I can't confirm this.
And of course, we're able to see them as they're just trying to chain pull, trying to get something going here. But Neuraxis is at 9% here for Free Marsy, going down very, very rapidly as he's trying to eat up that little kitty there of Wrath, and Wrath getting right back onto the boss, taking him down, and they are approaching, of course, Dargul, the last boss here.
Yes, of course, does well there to get back to the boss prior to the Spike Tongue fully ending. Otherwise, the boss can turn around and melee one of the melee nearby and one-shot them, so it's important for the tank to blanket taunt on their way back in. They will be moving over to the right side, opting not to deal with that third Scorpion that we see some teams pull depending on their pull pattern and percentage they want, and they'll be going down through the middle here with a couple of extra Pelters, and then soon enough we'll have to deal with those 2 Scorpion packs prior to Dargul.
Yeah, you're interested to see if Team MPE and the effort, I guess you could say, that they're going to be putting in, if they're even going to be bothering with any large trash pulls, if they're even going to be focusing on anything large here. So overall, they're just pulling a couple mobs as Free Marsy is clearing out the remainder of the trash that is required of them. Again, it is teaming, so Free Marsy does have to play pretty careful with these Scorpion and Pelter packs that are coming up here.
Yeah, they just have to play it safe. And, you know, I mean, you ask, you know, are they going to do any big pulls? There's just no reason. They know they're ahead at this point. They can also now wipe 2-3 times and still be ahead because of how many times Team MPE not only wiped, but also tried to kind of slowly kill the boss after an almost full wipe. So Team MPE is substantially behind at this point. Free Marsy pulling the first of the Demolisher packs here. You can actually interrupt these before they cast their Char skin, and if you do so, they will not transform into this giant form.
Yeah, and you're seeing, I mean, we were over talking about how, you know, you do have those disaster situations where it doesn't even take a wipe to cause problems. I mean, you can even have times where you just drop a DPS or two and then you're still having to grind away the boss because you don't have like a battle res available or something like that. I mean, you're seeing Team MPE doing an extremely ambitious and aggressive pull here, getting all those Pelter packs together, trying to AoE them down in a very desperate play just to be able to do anything they can to kind of get themselves caught up back in the game here.
Yeah, well, you know, they did pull a bit safe too. I mean, they dealt with that Hulk pack prior to pulling the rest, Team MPE here, but of course they are pulling it, and we do see a death go down from the Hunter. Again, cast Feign Death very convincingly, is rezzed immediately, and they will continue doing some damage on the boss as they still have to do with that mass amount of trash in the meantime. Free Marsy, of course, going over to the last Scorpion pack here. For those at home, why are they not pulling the boss with the Scorpion pack? We do have another death from Team MP in the corner. I'm just tired of saying it, so you know, I'm gonna let that one go for a moment. But Free Marsy, of course, you're asking at home, why do they not just pull the boss with the Scorpions? The boss will actually automatically pull all the trash in his kind of lower platform area here, including Scorpions, so you do want to deal with them, get them out of the way. Team MP looks like they're headed for Wipe City at any moment now as well.
Yep, and you see, I mean, even as they're having to deal with the totem game, they still have more trash mobs up. You know, they were not able to keep all the trash, you know, solidified, kept together. Another death going down, and again, you have the same thing that happens. You have boss is up, healer and the tank are the only ones left alive. And
I think this could take a while for that Blood DK to likely have to re-solo that boss. Free Marsy now dealing with the rest of the trash and getting ready to pull Dark Gruul, the final boss here. I think the DK is just opting to finish it off at this point. There's too much damage to deal with. They will be all having to run back. They did kill the trash though, which is, I guess, a consolation prize.
Yes.
But they will have to run all the way back and now re-engage Ularog. In the meantime, Free Marsy already starting on Dark Gruul, the final boss. Notables here are he does do crystal spikes, usually about 3 every rotation of his 100 energy. These are important for 2 reasons. One is this molten char skin that he spawns does need to be put through that wall. Once he does that, once he gets put into that wall, he will take 100% increased damage during his stun duration. Very important for players to be able to burn him down. And of course, Dark Gruul does have a frontal with the landslide that you want to make sure that you not only do not point towards the party, but once you return, you have to have your active mitigation up as the tank. Otherwise, you will take increased damage and get punted away.
I mean, you're seeing right here, I mean, at this point, it's just about adding as much damage as you possibly can, getting your positioning organized correctly. You're going to have another char skin coming out and being able to just toss that into the wall like you were saying here. And overall, it's just right off the bat, you're trying to make sure you're stacking all your little crystal spikes together. You have a pretty solid wall that you're able to, you know, get all of your char skins into the same place, be positioned around them so that all the fixates will be there. And again, you're going to see the large AoE coming out from Dark Gruul in just a second here. So they're positioning the boss. That way they'll still be able to hit through the spikes. Retro Fresh taking quite a bit of damage there, but he gets himself positioned properly so that he can still DPS the boss through that magma wave.
Right, you are. I do like very much, Jack, as you mentioned, that they move the boss over to the wall prior to that magma wave to make sure that the melee still have 100% active uptime, DPSing him during his immobile phase there. Well done on Molten Char Skin, spawning it directly into that crystal wall, and then they're going to be burning it down with that 100%.
I mean, you're seeing right here, just moving away from Volcanic, watching out for any of the walls that are coming up, you know, taking down the char skin as rapidly as you can. It was a very, very good move, like you were saying, making sure that the char skin spawns immediately on that wall so they don't even have to worry about it. They don't have to waste an extra wall or anything like that. They just instantly are able to jump on it, have that focused target that Team MPE was lacking, and get it down very, very rapidly.
Of course, we're full screen here now because there are several members of Team MPE currently being loaded into ambulances, unfortunately, after the punishment they've received from that second boss. Free Marsy should have free reign here in order to not only finish off this series, but as we spoke to Rob earlier, finally free Marsy.
It's astounding to see Marsy freed once again. We're all very proud of it. But what would the team be named now that Marsy is free?
I think they would change it to Freed Marsy.
Freed Marsy.
Yep, that would make most sense to me. Not too invasive on, of course, their title for any future sponsors and any paraphernalia that they've already built and constructed. Now, they didn't do as... Oh, I was actually going to say they didn't do as well of a job dragging the boss over to the wall here, but they do still have a bit more time prior to his magma wave phase.
You're right here seeing the char skin's actually going to come out right again, and it does spawn immediately on top of the wall. So very good timing there, and then they have, you know, the last crystal spikes before the next magma wave.
I do think that Molten Char Skin risk and they could have just ignored. I mean, the boss was low enough, and it looks like they're kind of opting to do so. They might just kill them both at the same time. But it looks like Free Marsy is going to dominate here, and they're going to sweep this series 2-0 with a very dominant performance.
Yikes. That was a game. That was a game we saw. So obviously, you know, coming into this, we kind of talked about some of the teams that hadn't performed as strongly were going to need to do some serious